excited as I am because literally we have one of the finest voices in contemporary music. And notice I said, because he bridges every genre of music. Will could do an opera. I've never heard him do it, but I'm sure if he had to, he could. There.
If it pays, I'll do it.
If it pays, he said he'll do it. Okay. I bet you sing a pretty happy birthday, too. I think I've heard that one.
Oh.
All right, so Will, it's a chance for you this evening to bare your soul and share with your devoted fans, many of which are here this evening, your background, your ups, your downs, your turnarounds. First tell us, and you know it's interesting because before you arrived, we were doing some Will Downing questions. I asked everything from your children's name to your wife's name, and folks knew the answer. I was giving away CDs.
You got some smart folk here.
We have some very astute Will Downing fans. So let's start with where you were born and raised. I'm sure many people know this, but for our listening audience as well.
Well, first and foremost, hello to everyone. It's good to see each and every person up in the joint tonight. My very good friend, Miss Deanna Williams, who I have not seen for about a year or so. And to answer your question, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Watch your wallets. I still got my old tendencies.
What age did you realize that you had vocal skills, Will?
I think I was in junior high school. I think, what is that? That's around age, around 12, 11, 12, somewhere around there. And I was in school, and they had a little choir. And the teacher said, hey, I want you to join the choir. And I found out that girls like guys who sing. So I was hooked after that.
And did you do talent shows? And what school was this?
It was a place called Stephen Decatur Junior High School.
All right.
And that was in Brooklyn, New York. And I think at that time, music programs were very prominent in schools. Everybody had to take music. So it wasn't, you know, there was nothing very special about what I did, but I just really loved it.
Okay, so did you do talent shows and the whole...
Did not do talent shows, never really sang in church either.
Really?
No, I never did any gospel. Because I used to have rehearsals for the choir rehearsals on Saturdays. And I used to play ball, so I wasn't giving up my Saturdays, you know, to go to choir rehearsals, so.
Got it, okay. And at what age did you decide to become a professional entertainer?
I became a professional entertainer, was it in high school, my sophomore year. I started doing recordings at that point, so that was about 16 years old at the time. Took myself into the studio, tried to put together a nice little demo. Someone heard it, hired me to do one gig, and it kind of just went on and on like that.
So didn't you do a lot of studio work?
I did a lot of studio work as a background vocalist. I've sung for, you name it, I've sung for Michael Jackson, a lot of my contemporaries, Jonathan Butler, Jennifer Holliday, just about everybody. That's where I learned my craft.
So when did you get your first recording contract, your solo deal?
My first solo deal was in 1988, but prior to that, I did a lot of club music, a lot of 12-inch records, so I had all kind of group names. I was Pilot on Prelude Records. I was a dude named Wally Jump Jr. on Criminal Records. I was also on with a group called Envy that was on Sire Records. So I had 8 singles out before I put out my own project in 1988.
As part of a group
As
scenario.
part of a group, right.
Okay, but your first solo deal, when you became known as Will Downing, 1988. And yes. What label was that?
And that was on Island Records.
Island, okay.
Yes.
That's when I became aware of you. They're taking pictures. Photo ops, like stop the diary to take these pictures right here. Will's taking pictures. I love it. Okay, so 1988. Tell us about the first Will Downing CD.
The first Will Downing
album
CD.
At that time, right?
Oh, yeah, it was vinyl.
Yeah.
It was vinyl back then. The first single was a song by Denise Williams. It was a song called Free. And I just got to be free. Free. That was the first single off my album. And in America, we sold nothing. The record didn't sell.
But overseas, it was quite another story.
I was, you know, as big as sliced bread, baby. So I found myself going over to England and Europe quite a bit to work, and put out 2 albums. The second album, once again, America did not show me any love. No love.
What was wrong with those people in the 80s? 90s?
But you know what? They started playing a song that I did off the second album, which was Wishing on a Star.
Actually, the very first time I heard Will, I was on the radio at another station, and when I heard Free and then Wishing on a Star, I thought he was from London. That was the word, that he was from overseas, a brother, soul brother from overseas. And of course, when I met you and found out you were from Brooklyn, I was like, okay, he's a brother, all right.
A Negro from Brooklyn.
A Negro from Brooklyn.
Yeah. What I am.
So Wishing on a Star, things started to change.
Things started to change. Quiet Storm Radio, all across the country, started embracing me. And I got a little bit more love here in America. But I still was going overseas to, you know, to get my paper.
Well, of course, Wishing on a Star was another cover, which was done originally by Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce.
So it seemed like almost every album that you've released, there was a cover.
Well, yeah.
Is that part of your methodology, or what people have come to expect from you?
Well, there's a method to the madness. A lot of the songs that I've done or remade were songs done by female artists, and I gave like a male interpretation of that song. So that's why I did those remixes.
There you go. Well, I have a question from Diane Rivers from Northeast Philadelphia. She says, okay, that's Diane.
I guess we know
where she is.
Oh, Diane.
Are you most inspired by making love, being in love, or heartbroken? Being heartbroken.
I like making love. But a lot of songs that I do come from the good and bad of relationships. So I try to write about it all. I think it was the Mood CD. I'd written a song called Sorry I.
What was the inspiration for that song? There's been a lot of speculation that it was about your divorce, but can you tell us the
story was? We'll talk about that later, you and I. The deal was, I was out of town, and my wife at the time and I were having problems. And I called her, and she would not accept my telephone calls. Every time I called, she, click, whatever, click. So I wrote it down, and I started the song off. I'm writing this letter to say what's on my mind first. How are you doing? I hope you and the kids are alright. I wish I could be there, but can't be. So here's a hug and a kiss from me. And that's where it started.
Sorry I. It's a great song.
Thank you.
It really is. All right, I was kind of going...